Good morning. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City's morning docket. Today is Thursday, September 24th, 2020. The board will be hearing violation cases today. I'm going to go quickly through a PowerPoint presentation which will outline the format for our hearing today. If you see on this PowerPoint page, you can see a link to the actual hearings so that you can watch the hearings from your smartphone, computer, or other similar device. Please put in the access code and password. If you don't have access to a smartphone, computer, or other similar device, but just a phone, there's a phone number listed here, an access code below, where you can call and just listen in. The materials, evidence, and related items. This docket can be found on our website at the link that's at the top of the page under the materials section. There's a 48-hour rule for evidence for online hearings. All the evidence to be considered by the board can be found in our long docket, and the board accepts evidence from any party up until about 11 a.m. on Tuesday, September 22nd. We have a 48-hour evidence rule. Licensees should make all efforts to provide any documentation that they plan on submitting to the board by 11 a.m. on Tuesday, September 22nd. We have to email it to the board, and they can review it and prepare for the hearings. Quick procedures of the docket. When I call the cases, I will impanel all of the attorneys, representatives, and/or witnesses. At that time, we would ask you to turn on your video and audio so that the court reporter can see you and swear you in. After you're sworn in, the board will call the case, present the case, and the attorney and/or licensee will have an opportunity to admit or deny the charges and put on evidence and testimony. Once that phase is completed, the board will then ask if there are any members from the public that wish to provide testimony. We ask that you use the raise your hand function within WebEx to be recognized so that you can be impaneled and sworn in. Once the board hears all the evidence and testimony, the board will then move to the sentencing determination, and it could be a fine, suspension, and/or revocation. Just general ground rules. Please identify yourself and state the spelling of your name before you speak when you're about to be sworn in. Please speak slowly in a clear voice so that the court reporter understands exactly what is being said and who is saying it. Please note that this is a live event running on Charm TV, and individuals who use profanity or are disrespectful or unruly may be expelled from the virtual hearing. Just some helpful reminders to improve your WebEx experience. If you have a computer, or a smartphone, please go to a well-lighted area so that members of the board can see you when you're actually giving testimony. And also, please be in a quiet location with a strong internet connection so that there's no background noise when you're giving testimony. With that, I'll move into the short docket. Mr. Chair, I do have a preliminary matter.
Please go ahead.
Case number 3 on the docket, Cheryl Hicks and Derek Young, D's Sports Bar LLC, trading as D's Sports Bar, 45 North Crescent Street. That matter has been postponed and will be set on a future date.
Okay.
Moving to the first case on the docket, Tesfaye Biru and Fikarami Worku, Jano Ethiopian Restaurant and Lounge, LLC, trading as Jano Ethiopia, 34 South Utah Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, liquor license, a violation of Rule 3.12, General Welfare. I'm going to pull in, I see the detective for the case is in the attendee room. So I'm going to pull in the attorney and pull in his client. Mr. Chair, I see Detective Hazimanis. He's still in the waiting room, but I guess he hasn't fully logged on yet because his phone icon isn't showing. I'm trying to pull him as a panelist, but I can't pull him in yet.
Okay.
I can move to the second case on the docket if you'd like. I know he's in the room. I can see him.
If it's going to take a while, let's go to the second case.
Okay, thank you. Call the second case on the docket. This is Sung Koo Kang and Mi Chai Park. Golf Incorporated, trading as Oxford Tavern, 1741 West North Avenue. There's a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, a violation of Rule 3.08, B, sanitation and safety. I'm pulling in those parties now. I have Agent Chase
Yes.
and Myra Gunjargal. Can you please turn on your video camera? I've unmuted you and turned on your video camera. Madam Court Reporter.
Is there
Okay.
on this?
Okay, I just don't see Agent. Okay, there we go. Would you be able to please raise your right hand? Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you
Yes.
God, or under penalty of perjury?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, is it Miss? I can't see your name in front of me, but you're not represented by counsel? Is that correct?
No,
Okay. And how are you related to the licensees?
I'm the manager.
Okay. And so they are charged with violation of Rule 3.08, small b, sanitation and safety on January 18th of this year. To admit or deny the violation?
Deny, because, can I state my reason?
Not yet, but
Okay,
I'll give you your chance, okay?
okay.
All right, so Inspector Chase, Agent Chase,
Yes.
can you tell us what happened?
Sure. At approximately 9:52 p.m., 9:25 p.m., my mistake. On Saturday, January 18th, 2020, I arrived at Oxford Tavern located at 1741 West North Avenue. When I arrived, I observed several overflowing trash cans with boxes, plastic bags, plastic bottles, and trash around the trash can on the ground. Also, there was a broken display case in the alley behind the establishment. There was trash placed in the front and on the side of the areas of the establishment. I spoke with the manager and she informed me that they have an issue with illegal dumping and trash pickup. I suggested that they hire a private company to remove the trash and continue to call 311 to address this issues of sanitation. Also, I suggested that they look into locking the garbage cans so that pedestrians do not dump their trash into the cans. A violation was issued for overflowing trash and sanitation.
Did you ever go back?
I did drive past a couple of times. I went past a couple of times, and it was clean up when I drove past.
Okay. Ma'am, Ms. Myrick, do you have questions for Ms. Chase?
Um, Miss Miss Chase, do you remember our conversation where I had informed you that the bar across the street had some people to bring that broken beer box and put it in our alley?
I do remember that conversation.
Okay, and I did call 311 and they did come pick it up. Now, as far as the trash and the boxes and stuff out there, um, I do remember telling you that the trash, the city hadn't picked up the trash. That's why the trash was overflowing. Now, they're not our trash cans. Our trash stays inside the bar, and the owner takes the trash and put it in his car, and he takes it and dumps it himself. And we pay people to keep that front and the side clean. Now, anything that happens once we closes, I have no control over. So, can anybody tell me what to do in that manner?
So, ma'am, what did you do after Inspector Chase violated you? How did you get it cleaned up?
I paid somebody to go out there and clean it up.
Okay, and what do you, is it still being maintained or what?
Yes, it's still being maintained. It's kept clean every day.
Okay, so you figured out a way to do that?
Yes, I did. And we haven't had a violation since.
Okay. Let me ask the commissioners if they have any questions for you.
I have no questions, Commissioner Guy.
No questions.
Mr. Akers, do we have anybody else who wants to testify?
If there are any individuals that wish to provide testimony in this case, please use the raise your hand function now so you can be recognized and we can impanel you. Mr. Chair, I see no individuals that wish to give testimony in this case.
Okay. So, Ms. Mara, we're going to go ahead and rule on the case. So this is on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents and the inspector's testimony and your testimony. I do find a violation of Rule 3.08 small b on January 18, 2020. This is the first time that your place has ever been charged with anything related to sanitation and safety. It sounds like there was some confusion about the responsibility, and it's been cleaned up and taken care of, and it's continuing to be maintained now. So in light of all of those circumstances, I would impose a minimal sanction of $50 and give you 30 days to pay it.
Okay.
Now I got to hear from you.
Okay. I appreciate that. That's
Commissioner
fair.
Guy.
That's fair.
Commissioner Guy, in consideration of the testimony and evidence presented to the board in this case, I also find that the licensee is in violation of Rule 3.08B, sanitation and safety, and I concur with the fine of $50 for this offense.
Based upon the charging documents and the 08B on January 18th, 2020, Ms. Myra, want to make sure that you understand that this is an ongoing responsibility. It's not one and done, and that it's still your property and you still have a responsibility to keep it clean and maintained. Based upon a number of extenuating circumstances we all are familiar with, I would concur with the imposition of a minimal $50.
Okay. So how should I pay this $50?
We'll get an explanation in a second. Let me ask Ms. Russell if there are any exhibits.
Yes, I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Investigation Report, Agent Chase.
Thank you. And Mr. Akers, you want to explain?
Yes, yes, ma'am. The board is going to be mailing you to the bar's address the board's decision and the next steps for payment. You can make payment via money order or check mailed to the board, addressed to the Director of Finance. So you'll be getting that information in the mail. We'll be sending it to 1741 West North Avenue.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have Detective Hazimanis. He's logged in and he's ready to go. So may I recall the first case?
Yes, please.
Recalling case number 1. Tesfaye Biru and Firmaram Orku, Ethiopian Restaurant and Lounge LLC, trading as Janu Ethiopia, 34 South Utah, Class C beer wine liquor license, a violation of Rule 3.12, General Welfare, on December 20th, 2019.
Okay, is everyone on now, Mr. Akers?
I'm pulling them on right now. Detective Hazimanis, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. What kind of phone are you using?
I'm using my iPad.
Okay, because I'm trying to make you a panelist, and it's just a little, it's not letting me, it's just allowing me. Is your video turned on?
I believe so.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I can't make him a panelist, but I believe we can all hear him. Can you hear him, Mr. Chair, board members?
Yes, I can hear the detective.
Yes.
I have Mr. Harris, Mr. Worku is on. Mr. Harris, Mr. Worku, can you please turn on your videos?
It says you've been unmuted.
Yes, you've been unmuted, Mr. Harris. You've been muted, Mr. Worku. You need to turn on your video footage.
Okay, I just clicked on.
Mr. Worku, we can see you now.
Okay. Is everyone on, Mr. Harris?
Okay, all right, there we go.
Can you identify yourself for the record, please, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. Roland Harris on behalf of Jano Ethiopia Harris, Harris. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to ask the reporter to swear Mr. Worku and the detective, please.
Okay, I see Mr. Worku. I just can't see the detective.
That's correct.
Hand is up.
Okay. Oh, is the detective just on the phone?
Yes.
Yeah, his video's having problems.
Okay. All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God or under penalty of perjury?
I do. I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Harris, does your client wish to admit or deny the violation?
We deny the violation, Your
Honor. May I ask the detective to tell the board what happened on December 20?
Yes, sir. So on December 20th, I responded to the area in reference to a shooting that occurred in that block. During my investigation, I revealed that there were two males that were shot in that block. My further investigation revealed that one of the individuals came from the location, Jano. Subsequently, he was armed with a gun in the club and began to get into a shootout with a second individual, where both of them, received treatment at a local hospital. I do have the incident on video.
Okay. Mr. Harris, you have questions for the detective?
Yes. Do you know when that individual went? Which individual was it that had gone into Jano Lounge?
I have to look the names up. I'm sorry, I wasn't fully prepared. I can, if you give me a moment, I could look those up, those names. One moment, I apologize. So it was a Mr. Turner and a Mr. Norris that were shot. And if I remember correctly, because I do not have the case holder in front of me, I believe it was Mr. Norris, Warren Norris, that came from the club itself.
Okay, and Mr. Norris, per your investigation, he had a date of birth of 12/1998.
I believe that's correct.
Okay, and so he's over the age of 21.
Correct.
Okay, and then in terms of you've been a detective for how long?
6 years.
Okay, and during that time, you've had to conduct pat downs on individuals to locate firearms. Is that correct?
Have I? Yes.
Okay, and so what ends up happening is that you actually, when you conduct that pat down, you receive certain training in conjunction with that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you have to be very careful because guns, sometimes you can pat somebody down and you still don't find the gun, right?
It has been known to slip past people, correct?
Okay. And that's even with trained police officers. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in terms of your investigation focused on events that occurred outside of Janu Lounge. Is that correct?
That the event happened outside, correct, in front of it.
Okay. And so your investigation thus far, I'm not asking you to reveal your entire investigation, but so far your
Correct.
investigation hasn't involved anything that's occurred inside of Janu Lounge. Is that correct?
Specifically in regards to my case, it did not happen inside of the location, correct?
Okay. And were any of the, my understanding is that from your report is that there were 2 security guards that were outside of Jano Lounge. Is that correct?
At the time that upon reviewing the video, correct.
Okay. Those individuals were not involved in the investigation that you're conducting. Is that correct? You're not suspects?
Correct.
Okay. And they weren't involved with Mr. Norris or Mr. Turner and a shootout that occurred back in December last year. Is that correct?
As so far in regards to my investigation, correct. I have not seen them connected.
Okay. And you indicated that it happened in the block. Where in the block did this event take place involving Mr. Norris and Mr. Turner?
It was directly out front. Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Because there's the Goddess that's located next door. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So did it happen towards the Goddess?
No. It was away from the Goddess. So if the Goddess is if you're facing Janet, the Goddess is to the left. This incident slightly happened to the right.
Okay. In front of that parking lot?
No, it was a little south of that parking lot.
Okay, because south of the parking lot is Janu Lounge, and then there's the Goddess. So
it would be in
where
front
did it
of
happen
Janet directly.
I'm sorry?
Then it would be in front of Janu.
Okay. I don't have any further questions, Aaron.
I have a couple of questions. Detective, were either of these individuals charged?
Were they charged? I'm sorry, was that the question?
Yeah, criminally charged?
Yes, both.
They both were?
Yes, with attempt murder and possibly murder. One person is on very critical still at this moment. The expectation is that they will pass.
Was there any evidence to determine whether the guns were lawfully in their possession?
They're not lawfully in their possession.
They were not?
Correct.
That was part of your investigation?
Correct. Both individuals were prohibited to have any firearms on them.
Mr. Harris, do you have any further questions for the detective?
No, Your Honor.
Do the commissioners?
Commissioner, I have no other questions.
I have no questions.
Mr. Harris, do you wish to be heard?
I do. I understand that what we're talking about is a serious event, and I think that serious event is recognized by Mr. Warku. It's recognized by Janu Lounge. I'm not sure what Janu Lounge is supposed to have done in this situation. I mean, it sounds as though they've done everything that they could possibly do. I mean, they're essentially I don't know that they have an obligation to pat down everybody. It sounds like from the testimony that we've heard that even if they conducted a pat down of everybody, they may still not be able to have prevented this incident. It doesn't sound like this incident is connected to it in terms of providing alcohol to people who shouldn't be consuming alcohol, whether by way of age or by way of level of intoxication. It doesn't sound like there was any type of fight that occurred inside of the establishment tying it to the location. And so I'm at a loss, truly, as to how it is that Janu Lounge was supposed to stop this event from happening. If Mr. Norris and Mr. Turner, both of age, decide to engage in reckless, destructive conduct, sounds like both of them have possibly destroyed their lives at this point in time. I don't know how Mr. Worku and Janu Lounge were supposed to stop that from happening. I think in this situation, I think there are often times where a business can affect the peace and safety of the community by way of their actions. In this situation, I don't see that Janu Lounge has done that, and I'd ask your honors to deny.
Okay. Do the commissioners have any further questions based on the council's comments?
No, I have no further questions.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So, Mr. Harris, I'm inclined to agree with you. I don't think that we have established a nexus or even a rationale for what the licensees should have done or could have done to prevent this incident from occurring. It is a deadly serious incident, and they're being pursued criminally for their actions, and one or both of them may end up dead as a result of it. And that I don't believe is necessarily the responsibility of Mr. Worku. I will say, however, that I have some concern about the Janu Lounge, not because this incident occurred right in front of it, and they have not got a great record in the last 5 years in terms of sales to minors, illegal conduct, general welfare, etc. But I will grant your motion to dismiss this violation, and with the warning that they need to think hard about what security can or should do to try to ensure that this kind of thing doesn't happen again, because very innocent people might have been killed as a result. But the motion would be granted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Commissioner Guy, based on in consideration of the testimony and evidence presented to the board in this case, I also find that the licensee is not in violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, and I concur with the decision to dismiss it.
I too would join my colleagues. I don't think there was an established nexus between the very serious actions and reckless conduct of the patrons and the licensee, which appears that the occurrence happened outside of their establishment with no connection to anything from the testimony that suggests it occurred before. So I too would concur with the granting of the motion to dismiss.
Untitled Chapter for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report. Police Officer Carpenter. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore City Police Department report. Detective Aminez.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris, you will be mailed correspondence regarding the board's decision in this matter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Calling the next case. This will be case number 4. Martha Y. per year, Special Peas LLC, trading as Special Peas Bar and Lounge, 2738 Baker Street, is a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license. A violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, on May 6, 2020. A violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, May 6, 2020. Violation of Rule 3.08A, sanitation and safety, May 6, 2020. I'm now going to bring in all of the witnesses. So I just brought on all of the witnesses.
Do we have an attorney in this case?
Yes, Mr. Kadinsky as well.
Okay.
For the
So
record,
they all
Melvin, for the record, Melvin J. Kadensky representing the licensee.
Good morning.
Morning.
I would ask all witnesses to turn on their video and audio.
They're all here. The gang's all here.
If we have everyone, let's
Just need Detective Gatto to turn on his video. And Detective Fleischer to turn on his video as well. Okay. Okay. And sorry, there we go. Please raise your right hand. Thanks. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God or under penalty of perjury? And please state your name before answering. Oh, I didn't hear.
Sergeant Leisure, I do.
Thank you.
Detective Gatto, I do.
Investigator McGinnis, I do.
Do we have all the witnesses then?
No.
I didn't hear everyone's response. Detective Greenhill, and then the witnesses with Mr. Kadensky.
Detective Greenhill, I do.
Thank you. And then the witnesses with Mr. Kadensky, if you can just state your name first and then your reply.
What's your name?
Martha Perrier.
Say yes.
Yes.
Evan Perrier McKinney, yes.
Eric Scott, yes. Sean
Thank
Perrier, yes.
Okay.
Have everyone then?
Since we're all here.
Yes, I believe.
All right, Mr. Kadensky, are these going to be admissions or denials?
That'd be denial.
Okay. Who's going to testify on?
Well, could I preliminarily put something on the record?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd move to have the cases dismissed that have to do with COVID pursuant to the rulings in Pennsylvania that the governor there and likewise here didn't have authority to go forward and issue an order, that it was unconstitutional and was beyond the purview of the governor to do that, to issue these type of orders to be binding on the citizens of the state. So I make that used as precedent the case from Pennsylvania by the federal judge.
Have you submitted that? Because I don't have it in front of me.
And no, it's an oral based on the discussion in Pennsylvania.
I am not familiar with the discussion in Pennsylvania, so I need to see the case.
All right.
I mean, is there a citation? Is it a reported decision?
I don't know. It was reported. It was a lower case. It hadn't been appealed, as far as I know, to the Second or Fourth Circuit.
Well, I have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. Kadensky. So I
well, I'll make it that it's unconstitutional in the state of Maryland and have authority to go ahead and issue the order.
I'll deny the motion. Let's. Okay. Who's going to testify?
Detective Greenhill, when you're ready.
Go ahead, Detective.
At 8:40 p.m. Peas located at 2738 Baker Street in response to a letter from a community representative concerning possible illegal activity at the aforementioned location. The letter indicated that the management of Special Peas is allowing customers inside the bar on the second floor to drink and socialize against the governor's executive order. As a result of the coronavirus, liquor establishments are only allowed to operate their packaged goods and/or over-the-counter sales of alcohol along with other packaged goods items. The tavern operations of any kind were to cease. As mentioned on 6 May, I entered the location identified as Special Peas. Licensee Martha Y. Perrier was not present, but her son, Sean Perrier, was present and in full operation control of the premises. A check of the liquor license revealed that the first floor to only be used for bar and tavern operations. Your writer could not check the establishment's UNO permit because it wasn't available at that time. Your writer also advised Mr. Puryear of the allegations concerning the use of the second floor and asked Mr. Puryear that I needed to check the second floor of the establishment. On the second floor of the establishment, your writer observed 3 males, 2 of which were seated at a portable folding table playing cards with another male seated on a type of couch. I observed various open alcoholic beverages indicating alcohol consumption on the second floor of the establishment. After consulting with Sergeant Leish of the situation at Special P's, a decision was made that Mr. Puryear would have to be the only one working at the bar and no one else, including family members. Mr. Puryear was advised of the establishment and it was left in his control. Further investigation on 7th May of this year, your writer contacted investigator McGinnis from Baltimore Housing, and he stated that during the last visit at the location by the Social Club Task Force, housing investigators found Mr. Puryear was using the second floor, which was not authorized.
I'll make an objection. It has nothing to do with what happened on May the 6th.
Yeah, I'll grant it. That's fine. Sustain.
All right. Investigators issued an active notice of the use of the second floor to cease. Mr. Puryear would have to respond to housing and apply for the use of the second floor. Later that evening, your writer conducted another check of the establishment known as Special P's and found Mr. Puryear on the first floor of the tavern. A check of the second floor revealed no one but a table, security monitor, workout bench, etc. was still on the second floor, which might indicate the second floor is still being used.
Well, I'm going to object.
The advice will continue to monitor activity at Special P's. Report forwarded to the liquor board.
Okay. What is your objection, Mr. Knesset?
Well, I mean, that's not part of the charging document here that, as I read it, as to the second visit, I don't see anything in there about that at all.
I agree. It's not relevant to this issue. So let's just proceed on the May 6th issue.
Can I ask a few questions, please?
You may.
All right. Well, Lieutenant Grudhell, when you went, was the place door open or closed?
As far as inside, as far as approaching the business?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went inside the door. There's a camera where he can
No,
see,
I mean, was it open, the door open, or did you have to knock to get in?
Well, the door was locked. But like I said, there's a camera at the door where he sees customers coming in. No, so the business was
I'm only asking if the door was open or closed. It was locked.
Yeah, it was locked. But the
so
business was open.
It wasn't open. You had to knock to get in, right?
There's a video camera where he sees customers. So once I come into the door, he sees me coming in.
But the
in other words, there's no need to knock, Mel, if he has a camera at the door where he can see customers coming in.
You had to knock to get in.
Okay, either way, he was open for business.
Are you say open for business? How many customers were on the first floor?
It was no customers on the first floor.
Lights were on?
Yeah, it's in his business. It's like you can see the light on inside that bar area.
Yeah. So the lights were on for a business, or they were just enough lights in there to keep TV visual. So there were no customers. Was there any product in the walk-in boxes or in the beer boxes?
Yeah, his setup is like a regular bar.
Yeah, but did
he has a cooler with.
I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. Did you check?
Yes. Once I got in.
You checked the beer boxes.
Once I got in, that I saw like a regular bar setup. He has a cooler. Now, did I thoroughly go in and check?
Yeah.
My job was not to do that.
No, I got it. I got it. I'm trying to make it easy here.
You're not making it easy, Mel.
I'm trying. I used to like you a little bit. With regard to, were there glasses or bottles on the bar downstairs?
The bar, from what I saw, there was no glasses or bottles on the bar.
Okay, all right, fine. And then when you talked to Mr. Puryear, he was cooperative with you?
Yes.
Okay. And then you said, could I look upstairs?
Yes.
And then you went upstairs with him?
Yes.
And you saw a couple individuals that were sitting around a table?
Yes.
You didn't see them consuming alcohol?
Not at that time.
Well, all right. And you saw them playing cards,
That's correct.
and you indicated that in your report that none of them were family members.
I didn't ask if they were family members.
Okay. And do you know what their names were?
No.
All right. And you left them up there,
Yes.
and you went down and you talked to, I guess, Sergeant Leisher?
By phone.
Okay. And he said that nobody was allowed in the place except the licensee?
During this time.
During what time?
You gotta understand, this was back in May.
No. I got it. So you're saying that only person could be in there is the licensee?
The licensee or the management.
All right. And no individuals, even if they were in there cleaning up, couldn't be in there?
No.
All right. So that's your story, and you're sticking to it.
Well, the bar during this time of the month in May, there was no bar operations period, according to the executive order of the governor.
All right. So I'm just asking you whether or not could they do any work in there, clean up, sanitize, or anything else. As far as you're saying, they can't do that either.
During this particular time, the only person that had to clean up is the licensee, or in this case, Mr. Sean Ferrier.
Or
no
any
one else
members
was
of,
in there cleaning up.
how about any members of his family?
No, from our discussion with my sergeant, there
No,
would be no
I
one
got it.
else inside the bar.
I'm all right. I'm with you. I'm okay. I just want to know, what the story was on it. Okay, no further questions.
So where are we, Mr. Cadency?
I mean, you got another, that's it?
We have the housing inspector, Mr. McGinnis. He's present.
Okay. Is he going to testify?
Yes, he's unmuted, Mr. McGinnis.
Yes, sir. I was not present at the time of this inspection, but I was the investigator who initially issued a use permit violation.
Well, I'm going to object if he wasn't there this time.
But I want to hear what he was doing. What was your connection with the case?
I issued the initial use permit violation, the notice number 1700171A. I issued that violation on July 23rd, 2018, that the second floor was off limits. Their existing use permit, use 2011-03199, says use first floor for a tavern lounge, no live entertainment or dancing. There is no listed use for the second floor. The property does not have a residential use, so there's no dwelling unit. So it should not be occupied at all.
Well,
same objection.
I'm not quite sure what that has to do with the events on May 6th. If I understand Detective Greenhill, his sergeant told him that under the governor's executive order, no one was permitted in the facility except the licensee. I don't have that order in front of me, so can Detective Greenhill or someone tell me where in the executive order it says that?
No problem. Mr. Chair, this is Tom Akris. Just a point of order. This is Exhibit 2 is the order of the governor. And this is, if you look at page 2 of the executive order, it states, all restaurants and bars are hereby closed to the general public effective 5 p.m. on March 16, 2020, except that to the extent permitted by applicable law in accordance with any social distancing recommendations of the Maryland Department of Health, Food, and Beverages may be sold if such food or beverages are promptly taken from the premises on a carry-out or drive-through basis and delivered to customers off-premise. So just 2 points. All bars at the time, May 6th, when Detective Greenhill is giving testimony, could only sell alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption only, or beverages delivered to customers. In terms of the housing matter, the licensee is charged with violation of Rule 3.08, Sanitation and Safety, and 3.08A specifically says Licensees shall operate their establishments in accordance with the requirements of the Department of Housing and Community Development and the City Police Department and any other applicable city, state, or federal laws, rules, or regulations. The reason why Mr. McGinnis is testifying is because there was a violation order issued previously in 2018, which he provided testimony on, issued by the Department of Housing and Community Development, stating that the second floor was uninhabitable and no one should be there. So that's why he was charged, or the licensee was charged with 3.08A. The licensee was charged with 4.16, illegal conduct, and 3.12, general welfare, for the violation of the governor's executive order.
All right, do commissioners have any questions?
Commissioner Guy, I have no questions on this.
I have a question. Mr. Kudinski, what's your argument here? I'm trying to get my head around the reasoning behind. Can you explain?
About all that control on my answer.
Mr. Kudinski, I'm having a hard time articulating this, but I'm trying to figure out exactly what your argument is. Because
I haven't given any testimony yet.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Maybe I think what you were listening to is that places couldn't be open to the general public as indicated, although I don't know the orders any go, but assuming for the sake of argument that the order is valid, that the place could not be open for the general public. The testimony that we'll have here, and then I'll let them testify, is these were not general public. These were all relatives who were in there cleaning and sanitizing the place. They finished sanitizing the place, and they, at that point, went up, the cousins went upstairs. Two of them had an iced tea, and they were sitting there for a few minutes, playing cards, and they were going to leave. So the place was closed. It wasn't open to the general public. But I'll have them testify to that, and then I have all the people here. There's like 3 or 4 of them here that'll verify that.
Okay, thank you.
You and me put a witness on?
Go ahead, Mr.
All right, let's move up here a little bit. And this Puryear is here. I'm just going to move on the side. All right, state your name and address for the record, please.
Sean Puryear, 4703 Briarcliff Road.
And then your relationship to Martha Puryear is what? It's your mom?
Yes.
You were in the establishment on that day?
Speak up louder.
Yes.
Say yes?
Yes.
And was the place open or closed?
It was closed.
What was it? Why was it closed?
We was closed for business, and we was sanitizing per the order. We was closed. The order was that we was because there was a lot of confusion. And then when we know we could be in the building for sanitation, unless you're just selling packaged goods.
And then along with it, the persons who were in the building with you, were they your relatives, cousins, and nephews?
They was my relatives. One was my cousin, one was my nephew.
All right. And then along with that, they weren't customers, is that correct?
No.
They weren't the general public, correct?
No.
And when they finished cleaning, they were upstairs at there's a card table there, is that correct?
Card table upstairs.
And they were finished and they were having a couple iced teas. And I think you said one of them might have had a beer that you had given them.
Right.
And then they were going to leave, is that right?
Right. We really wasn't always finished. But it was a lot of sanitation. There's a lot of stuff we had to do because it was a mass hysteria about this cleaning up. So we was doing everything we could do to try to prepare for whenever they said we could open, but everything was sanitation. The whole front, the bottom was cleared, no lights was on, nothing was open. You couldn't even see, I couldn't even see to make a drink downstairs.
Now, the upstairs was just used mainly for storage, is that correct?
For storage.
No business, you didn't use it for, nobody occupies it, nobody lives there, it's not for habitation.
No habitation, no nothing. I have nowhere else to put my storage but upstairs. And if I want to, sometimes I might go up there and just rush my eyes while I'm working.
All right, and that second floor has been there for as long as you know. Is that correct? Nobody put that second story on the building.
We've had this business going on 10 years. And that's what it's always been used
Okay.
for.
All right. I have no further questions. This witness, I would, unless the board has questions. I'm sorry.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a question, not for this witness, but for Officer Greenhill.
Okay, well, let's just finish with the witnesses on this side first, then we can go back. Commissioner,
And can I say one more thing?
Oh. 1 second.
Does the other commissioner have any questions?
Yeah, just briefly. So your testimony is that at 8:40 p.m. on May the 6th, that you were just finishing cleaning up the entire establishment based on the hysteria ongoing with COVID and somehow at that time, so I'm clear, the detective saw you playing cards at a card table and there was at least one alcoholic beverage open. Is that what your testimony is?
I got the answer.
No, he didn't see us playing cards. We wasn't actually playing cards anyway. It was cards on the table. And it was like us, people, we still had drinks around for us, mostly teas and sodas. It might have been a beer or something there. It was generally teas and soda because we've been working.
All right, thank you. Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do you want to present further testimony, Mr. Kadowski?
Well, I would proffer, I would have other individuals here. You can see them, they saw fit to come down, and as per year, they would basically verify the same scenario that Mr. Perrier's given. I could put them all in one, but I would like to proffer that that's their testimony, that they're relatives of the licensee, and they were there cleaning and fixing the place up and sanitizing.
Okay. Let's recall Detective Greenhill then, so Commissioner Guy can ask his question. Are you there?
Officer Greenhill?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Officer Greenhill, I noticed in your report that you said that when you went upstairs, you noticed that there was various open alcoholic beverages containers. So the testimony that was given by the witnesses was that they were drinking sodas and that they were playing cards. And there may have been a beer there. So what did you observe?
I observed what appears to be open containers of beer.
Was it?
I could clearly read that it wasn't that would, I can't remember the exact name of the alcoholic beverages, but I do know the difference between sodas and sweet teas and alcoholic beverages. If I indicated alcoholic beverages, then that's what it was, not sweet teas and sodas. I think I would have indicated that in my report.
Did you see more than one container of beer?
It's a possibility. Like I said, I just saw open containers of alcoholic beverages. Like I said, I know the difference. I know what's a soda. No, I know what is a sweet tea. Did not see sweet tea. Did not see soda. Nor did I see any type of cleaning equipment downstairs or upstairs.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Detective Greenhill, why did you go there in the first place?
Because there was a complaint that was written from a representative of the community, and I believe that letter had made itself to the mayor's office, and I was given the complaint by Sergeant Leisha.
Okay.
So a representative of the community that lives in that community that obviously lives near that bar made the complaint.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Kness, you wish to be heard?
Yeah. What did the letter say? Who wrote the letter?
Our representative of the community.
Yeah, but did you read?
I don't live in that community. I don't work that community.
No.
All I get when we get complaints, man, representative
I
of the
got
community,
it. I
that's what
got
we
it.
do.
But you did you see the letter?
Yeah, I saw a part of the letter. Yes.
And how did you see it? Who gave it to you?
It was forwarded to our office, so my sergeant gave me the letter.
Okay. you said that you went in. Did you look for any cleaning? You said you didn't see any. Did you look to see if there were any there, or you just said you didn't see any?
Well, I didn't see any.
Okay.
Good.
And upstairs, when you said there appeared to be open containers, do you know how old they were? Whether they were full, they were empty, cold? No. Right?
Couldn't tell you. No.
Okay. I mean, I just want to be,
like I said,
want to be fair.
I know the difference between sweet teas and sodas. I didn't see that. I saw alcoholic beverages.
And there's an open and an empty bottle, full bottle. It's a bottle is a bottle, right?
Bottle's a bottle, correct.
Got it. And they were cooperative with you, correct?
Yes, they were cooperative.
No problems there. Okay. I have nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners have anything else?
I have no further questions.
Do we have public comment, Mr. Ackworth?
If there are any individuals who would like to provide testimony in this matter, please use the raise your hand function. Mr. Chairman, I see no individuals who wish to give testimony in this matter.
Okay.
If I could just briefly, I don't want to, I think that if you believe, if the order, if it's valid, and I'm not going to, I made my objection on that, is that if it's for the general public, in this case here, Mr. Perrier's there was the son along with his cousins and nephews, and they weren't the general public. They weren't conducting any business. Their testimonies could be believed as well as anybody else, that they were in there cleaning up. They stopped and they were upstairs for a few minutes. There might have been a beer open maybe, but was not being sold or anything. And they didn't do this to anyway, would be violative of the order because they weren't members of the general public. They were there to clean up. Certainly that was part of the directive given that to make sure places were sanitized. As to the other violation by Inspector McGinnis, I don't even know how that, it's not habitable. Weren't using for habitable. It wasn't using for anything. It was all part of the building. It was there. They were just sitting up there relaxing before they went back downstairs and do some additional work.
Okay. All right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents and the testimony received as well as proper counsel, I frankly have to say, based on the evidence that I heard, I do not find a violation of any of these rules. So I would dismiss them.
Commissioner Guy, in consideration of the testimony and evidence presented to the board in this case, I find that the licensee, I find that they're in violation of illegal conduct, Rule 4.16, illegal conduct. I find that that Rule 3.12, general welfare, and Rule 3.08, sanitation and safety. I can't substantiate that, so I would move to dismiss those two.
Okay. Mr. Greenfield?
So just so I'm clear, Mr. Commissioner Guy, you find a violation of Rule 4.16, but not the other two?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And what do you have a suggested fine for the first?
I would suggest a fine of $100 for that.
Thank you. So I slightly disagree with my colleagues. I find Detective Greenhill's testimony credible. I find the executive order from the governor pretty clear in the letter and in the spirit that there was still drinking occurring when there should not have been. Detective Greenhill did not see cleaning equipment. True, he wasn't looking for it, but that's the defense made by the licensees. I too find a violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct with the imposition of a $100 fine. I also find a violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, and would have imposed a $100 fine, and also find a violation of Rule 3.08 sanitation and safety and would impose a $100 fine. I do believe that the licensee has been put on notice with respect to the second floor, and I'm not sure why there were people up there drinking or playing cards. I get the general public argument that Mr. Kudinski is making, but I don't think that that's really the spirit of the executive order.
Okay, thank you. So on the basis of the ruling to the commissioner, the one violation that will be sustained is Rule 4.16 by a 2-to-1 vote, and that's with a $100 fine, 30 days to pay. Ms. Russell?
Exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective Elsie Greenhill. Board Exhibit 2, Governor's Executive Order dated 3/16/20. Exhibit number 3, Governor's Executive Order dated 3/19/20. Exhibit number 4, Governor's Executive Order dated 3/23/20. Exhibit number 5, code violation notice and order, and 6, use permit.
Thank you.
Mr. Kudinski, you will be receiving correspondence from the board regarding its decision and the next steps for payment.
All right, thank you very much.
Would I be able to get spelling for the witnesses? I have Sean per year, and then there were others. Not. So, Mr. Kudinski's still there.
Yeah, Mr. Kudinski, did you hear the question?
Yeah, I'll send it over in writing so I can get their full names. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
that'd be great. All right.
Okay. Calling the last case on the docket, Aaron O. Hammonds and Samari Wyatt. Shipyard Investors Incorporated, trading as Shipyard Pub, 3500 O'Donnell Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, a violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, on May 1st, 2020, and a violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, on May 1st, 2020. Indulgence, Mr. Chair, I'm going to be bringing in all of the witnesses.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Fogelman, Mr. Hammonds, Agent Perez, Inspector Tudhope, can you please turn on your video and audio? I see Mr. Fogelman, Inspector Tudhope, Agent Perez. Mr. Hammonds, please turn on your video.
Okay, Ms. Fogelman, identify yourself for the record, please.
Thank you very much. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the licensee, Aaron Hammonds.
Let's ask the reporter to swear the witnesses, please.
How is he a detective for 25 years?
Okay, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury? And please state your name before your reply.
Aaron Hammonds, I do.
Okay. And the detective?
Andy Perez.
Inspector Tudhope, I do.
Ms. Fogelman, are these going to be admissions or denials?
Denials, thank you.
Okay, who's going to testify?
I will.
Agent Perez, go ahead.
May 1st of 2020, you're right, alone, Inspector Toho, we're conducting random business checks throughout the city of Baltimore. The purpose of this business check was to ensure that we comply with the governor's executive order, all restaurants and bars to close for all on-premise consumption and socializing. Restaurants and bars only be open
the audio.
Hold on one second. Restaurants and bars can only be open for delivery and carry-out services only. At approximately 8:10 p.m., we began making observations of the aforementioned establishment. At this time, we observed approximately 4 individuals hanging out at the side entrance on South Bailey Street. We also observed several patrons being served alcoholic beverages through a service window on the front of the establishment facing O'Donnell Street. At approximately 8:35 p.m., we returned to the establishment and observed the same 4 individuals who were seen previously hanging out on the side entrance inside the establishment consuming what appeared to be alcoholic beverage out of 32-ounce clear containers. At approximately 8:38 p.m., we attempted to enter the establishment through the side door, but it was locked. We also attempted to gain entry to the front door, but it was locked as well. Furthermore, Inspector Toho knocked on the front door, and a female employee of the establishment opened the door for us. We identified the licensee as Mr. Aaron Hammonds and informed him of the violation for allowing on-premise consumption. I explained Mr. Hammonds that he can only be open for carry-out and delivery only, and all on-site consumption must be ceased immediately. We completed our investigation and left the establishment in control, Mr. Hammonds.
Thank you. Mr. Fogelman, you have questions?
Yes, thank you, Agent. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Okay, on that date, May 1st, did you speak to the 4 individuals that you talk about in the complaint?
I did not.
All right, so you don't know who they are, where they work, any of them?
Mr. Hammonds stated they were his friends.
Okay. And you you also stated that telling the licensee that it can only be open for carryout, right?
Correct.
Okay. So did you inquire as to whether or not Mr. Hammond's business was even open at 8:38?
Repeat the question again, please.
Did you determine that Mr. Hammond's business was open and operating to the general public at 8:38 p.m. when you returned?
He was.
Okay, and why do you say it was open to the general public?
Because of the individuals that were inside of the establishment,
Because
referred as his friends.
okay, and all right, I have nothing further. Thank you, Agent.
Okay. Do you want to put on testimony, Mr. Fogelman?
Thank you. Call Mr. Hammond's licensee.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hammonds. Tell me what happened on or about May 1st, 8 o'clock in the evening.
So that evening, I believe after 8 o'clock, I was in the process. I think 8 o'clock was the time that we shut down. But I also know that the personnel that were, on site, those are the same personnel that either just got off or someone that was there to pick them up. The spouse of one of the personnel that was one of my employees, and then also another off-duty police officer that does security work for me as well, was there getting off as well. So,
So, in summation, the 4 persons witnessed by the inspectors, 2 were actively employed bartenders at your establishment.
correct.
1 was a Baltimore City off-duty police officer who provides security for your establishment as an independent contractor.
Correct.
And 1 person was the spouse of a bartender who was there to drive her home, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. What has happened since May 1st? Tell me about your capacity. Tell me about your business model since May 1st.
Well, as you're aware, and maybe some others, I only have to-go drinks as a service currently, and I'm operating through the front garage door window. But also, I was in the process during this time, since May up until now, in the process of getting approval for my kitchen to open to serve to the public. I just recently got approved last week to serve food. And I also know that, just like most other restaurants in the area, with the 50% capacity, we need as much business inside as possible. But I just don't feel, safe opening the inside to the public currently. So that's why, all my doors are always locked. And I'm only serving to go currently, and I will be serving delivery in the future. And I probably won't feel comfortable opening the inside of my establishment until we get back to 100% inside. So that's currently where I am. It's still to go only for drinks, and it will be for food starting this weekend.
Now, Mr. Hammonds, did you believe that you were prohibited from having an employee in the business with an alcoholic beverage?
So to my knowledge, at the current time, with all the questions in the air with the mayor's, I'm sorry, with the governor's directive, no, I didn't think that I was violating at the time.
Okay, and what time did you close the establishment on May 1st?
So I closed the establishment. Well, I locked the doors obviously at 8 o'clock, but then also to the public, I believe, I'm trying to remember what day that was. It was either 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. or 9 p.m.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hammonds.
You're welcome.
Any further, Mr. Fogelman?
No, I'd just like to be heard.
Let me see if the commissioners have questions.
Sure.
Commissioner Guy, I see in the write-up that there were 4 individuals. You said that one individual was the spouse of one of your employees, and the second individual that you named was an off-duty police officer that provides security. Who were the other 2?
Employees. Employees getting off the clock.
Okay, so you had 2 other employees working with you that evening.
Correct. So I had 3 employees in total working in addition to myself. The 2 had finished, cleaning, and there was only 1 left who was locking up and counting money.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Hammonds, is it customary for your bartenders to be drinking when they're at work?
Once they get off, I allow them to have 1 drink. Yes.
So it's customary that they were off at 8:10. Your testimony was that you thought you closed around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. You don't recall. So it's customary for them to have 32 ounce at the end of the night.
So normally they take it home to go, just like everyone else. That's why they were in 32 ounce to go cups. And during the time that was, only to go alcohol serving. So yes.
Okay.
And then I had 1, like I said, still counting money and closing out.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, Mr. Fogelman, do you have any? Do we have public comment, Mr. Akers?
Are there any individuals who would like, from members of the public, would like to give testimony in this matter? Use the raise your hand function. Mr. Chair, I do not see any individuals who give testimony in this matter.
All right, Ms. Fogelman, did you want to sum up?
Yes, thank you. I want to adopt and incorporate some of Mr. Cadet's arguments from the last case. I do hear some significant audio interruption right now. It's not coming from my end. Okay, it's gone. Thank you. All right. The exhibits I introduced in this case are board's exhibits 2, 3, and 4. The governor's executive orders dated March 16th, 19th, and 23rd, respectively. Article 5B is very clear. It does not say no on-premise consumption at all costs. Unlike this agency, it does not operate in a strict liability sense. It's very clear that the general public is off limits for service indoors. And it not only stated it on March 16th, but if there was any confusion, it could have been modified on March 19th, but it's the same language on March 19th and the same language on March 23rd, specifically general public. Nothing about preventing private business meetings, employee meetings, or the like. It's one of these things where, first of all, this isn't about everyone during COVID-19 in any capacity they can. They want to help. They want to help. And in this case, there's been a lot of these COVID-19 cases. Hopefully they'll start, these matters before the liquor board will also start going down as we try to get back to normal. But in the meantime, everybody wants to help. But in some of these cases, I don't think that the matters were fully investigated or thoroughly investigated. I think there was kind of a rush to violate somebody. If I see somebody inside, you're violating. So we talk about in every one of these hearings the confusion on everyone's part, but often the confusion on the licensee's part. But there's certainly been confusion on the other end too, with the inspectors and the staff. But this isn't about how the staff reads the governor's executive orders. This is not about how the inspectors read the governor's executive orders. The plain language of Section 5B, you are the final arbiter at the agency of what it means by law. And to me, it's clear that it would have been very easy for the governor's excellent lawyers to change the language of this order to prohibit all indoor consumption at all costs. They did not do that on these three occasions and the three documents under which all licensees in the state had to abide by. So I'm telling you, based on my interpretation, I strongly believe that this situation where you have two bartenders, a Baltimore police officer, and the spouse of a bartender does not constitute general public. Random House Dictionary calls the general public all the people in a certain community, state, city, etc. All the people in a neighborhood are I would call it the average Joe. Were any of these people an average Joe, a random patron off the street? Absolutely not. Were any of these people even regulars for that matter? A regular would certainly count as the general public. No, it was people who were connected with the operation of this establishment in some way. And so I would argue that there was simply no disturbance of the general welfare as a result of the events of May 1st, nor was any illegal conduct committed by the licensee. I thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to base my ruling on the materials that are contained in the charging documents, testimony received, and any other evidence submitted during the hearing today. So I have a similar problem in this case that I had in the earlier case about the language of the executive order. Clearly, again, we do not have members of the general public, as Mr. Fogelman points out. I don't think we have any evidence that the beverages that were being consumed were sold. The testimony is believed they were employees who were taking drink. If they had been wise, I think they would have covered them and taken them away from the premises to make sure there was no difficulty. But the order does not cover this situation, so I would not be able to find violation. Commissioners?
Commissioner Guy, I concur in consideration of the testimony and the evidence presented to the board in this case. I also would dismiss the violation of Rule 4.16 illegal conduct and violation of Rule 3.12 general welfare that took place on May the 1st, 2020. I would dismiss.
So I take Mr. Fogelman's arguments. However, I still am of the belief that there's consumption that occurred when there shouldn't have been under I understand the general public argument, but at some point, I don't think that's the real intent. The general public term changes, it seems to me, based upon the facts. And in this case, they were closed, they were consuming on premises, and it'd be a different situation if they were actually in to-go cups. They weren't to-go cups, but it sounds like they were consuming based upon the testimony. So for that, I'm going to remain consistent with my earlier decision and find a violation of Rule 4.16 illegal conduct first, and a violation of Rule 3.12 general welfare on May 1st, 2020. I recognize I'm in the minority, but that's where I sit right now.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for the extra time.
Medical exhibits for the record. Exhibit number 1, violation report, Agent Perez. Exhibit number 2, Governor Executive Order dated 3/16/20. 3, Governor's Executive Order dated 3/23/20. And 4, Governor's Executive Order dated 3/19/20.
Thank you.
Mr. Fogelman, you will receive correspondence in the mail regarding the board's decision in this matter.
Okay. Mr. Akers, does that conclude our docket?
That concludes our docket. The board is in recess until Thursday, October 1st, 2020.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Have a good day.